Next is the report from Workshop 5, Hiltrud Liedgens from the Multidisciplinary Pain Center Grünenthal, together with Gitte Handberg, but as I understood, Gitte will not present, only Hiltrud.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to summarize the really exciting presentations that we heard in our workshop yesterday and the fruitful discussions that came out of this presentation. Unfortunately, as the time is limited, I cannot repeat everything, although I would like to share really each and every detail from these presentations, but you know that the time will not allow us. So I do my best to give you an impressive overview of what we heard here. So the objective of our workshop was to share experience on how far the roadmap for action resulting from the previous ZIP symposia has evolved within the various countries in Europe, and to share best practice in those countries where some progress or a lot of progress could already be reported. Professor Trede, who started the workshop with his presentation first, pointed out that this was not the start of this effort. The effort started already 10 years ago to get multidisciplinary groups together and to raise awareness at governmental bodies. And this started with the ethic declaration on pain, but in the first years there was only very limited progress, and pain specialists were not very happy about delays and lack of success that they had. So this new pain platform, roadmap of action platform, was very well taken, and progress. I will share the progress with you in a minute. So far, national action plans at a governmental level exist only in Portugal, France, Italy, Scotland, and Wales. And this morning, I think we had already a very impressive presentation from the activities that are taken in Italy already, which was a very excellent example, I think. So what I wanted to do first is to share the roadmap for action with you. What are we talking about all the time here? Most of you might know it, but just to get it into your awareness again, in this roadmap, it shows 7 important points which were identified by previous SIP meetings, highlighting that pain is a very important factor limiting quality of life, and it should be on the top priority list of national healthcare systems. Important topics like that follow in the next 6 points. I will not read it all because I'm sure you know it, and you will also have that in your Congress material. But what I want to share with you is that during our workshop, several participants raised some concerns that maybe the wording of this roadmap is in some points a bit misunderstanding, and some colleagues from different countries told us that it's really difficult to find a translation of these 7 points in their languages, and so maybe they recommend to have a little bit shaping of these points to make it clearer and better understandable, so that the discussion with the governmental bodies could become easier for them in the future. So to shortly share with you the highlights of the 8 country presentations, I prepared this list, and I would like to start with a presentation from Beverly Collett, which really, she changed the title of the presentation just to bring it onto the point. All the effort is for the start of the effort, it's very important to bring people together. So the right people have to be brought together to have the right discussion, and to have enough power to bring the discussion also to the Parliament. And in UK, she managed to set up with a very impressive group of people the Chronic Pain Policy Coalition, and they are already quite advanced with their effort regarding discussions with the Parliament. But what we heard also from other countries later on, it's not only that you need good, experienced people and you need access to decisive bodies, but very often it happens once you had established your contacts and you are heard by a parliament, a new election follows, and the people change, and then it might happen that you have to start right from the beginning. And this is one very interesting aspect, because during the discussion, some of the participants mentioned that it might be better not to focus only on the politicians in higher positions, but focus on lower levels, on civil servants, and they might also have the power to bring your project further and to be more consistent also if the government changes. But this might also be very country-specific and cannot be globalized for all countries. So the next example, I don't go through this list one by one. This is the order how the presentations were given. But England was already quite advanced. From Northern Ireland, from Pamela Bell, we heard that they are just following in a similar approach and that they are advanced as well. A very positive example is France. Michel Lantieri-Minet presented us already the 4th national program for pain management, and the first of that has already started in the 90s. So in France they have already a great experience in building multi-stakeholder groups and approaching governmental bodies to discuss their issues. And the same is true for the Netherlands. Pain is on the agenda of the Dutch Council for the Quality of Health Care there as well. So in Denmark, Gitte Handberg described very impressively that there are already multidisciplinary pain clinics. That means on the physician level in the regions. There are multi-stakeholder groups taking care of pain patients already in an excellent way. But this remains still on the regional level, and they did not yet succeed sufficiently in also involving the government to get a national pain program here. And what is a problem in Denmark as well is that there are too few specialists, pain clinics or specialists to treat the patients in an acceptable time frame. So sometimes they have to wait for months until they can see the doctor and get sufficient treatment. Interestingly, there seems to be sort of east-west gradient. So in the eastern countries, multidisciplinary groups seem to work a bit better, and also the discussions with the governments. The more east we go, the less evolved this is, which we heard, for instance, from Slovenia, I'm very sure, sorry that I cannot really pronounce your name correctly, I guess. So Nevenka, Mrs. Nevenka explained that they finally got the chance to discuss with the national bodies, but unfortunately also their elections came in between, and they have to start their process again. Not so positive was the presentation from Romania, from Viorica Corzaru. She thought that there is a very low priority of health in the public sector, and I think in countries like that there is really a lot of effort necessary, and that might be there might be a greater need to support this also on the European level and to help these countries to get along with their projects. What we should not forget in all efforts that has to be taken on the medical clinical level and on patient level is that for discussions with governmental bodies, also the budgetary impact is very important and can be seen as supportive if we have positive arguments. And of course, to include work loss, indirect costs into our cost calculations can be one argument which supports us, as we heard this morning already. But James Espin from Spain also presented a very interesting approach, not only possible for pain, but maybe also for pain treatment. And this is new ways of financing the health care, no cure, no pain. And this is what he meant is our risk share agreements in a way that the pharmaceutical companies are only refunded if really sufficient success of the treatment can be proven. This might be one approach in the future, which at some stage might have to be discussed as well. So from all these interesting presentations and comments, we came to the following summary. So for sure, in many countries, we can already see that they make good success regarding the roadmap of pain. But to improve the quality of pain treatment, for sure, a national strategy is necessary in each country, and that cannot be like a unified or European recipe. It has to be tailored to each individual country. For this, it is very important to identify the stakeholders that really matter. And as I said, it might be more important on the governmental level to identify not only the right politicians, but also lower levels. But on the other hand, besides that, the right stakeholders is also, this means also the team, which comes in the next bullet point. It's important to have the right team that can do the work and can shape the environment and can support your argumentation. That means, as it was stated by one of the participants, you need to find your friends and to connect the dots. But as said, there is no golden way how to approach the health authorities. It has to be individualized. Another approach that within this context that was highlighted as very important is that the treatment of pain should be transferred back or should remain more at the JP level, because the experts in our team thought that they really are the best to treat their pain patients. Usually JPs know their patients best, and it was really highly recommended to try to keep pain treatment at the JP level and not always or not too often, too soon refer them to specialists. However, we also heard that some JPs are hesitant to this approach and are not so happy about it. And for this, of course, education might be a very important step, which we heard already this morning as well from another talk. And it would be for sure a very good approach to have education on pain treatment already in the basic education of medical studies. One example which came also from the UK was that one could grant an extra payment for JPs who are involved in pain treatment so that they get additional incentives which might make this education and the intensive care of pain patients, of chronic pain patients, more attractive. And a positive example here is the quality outcomes frame from the UK, the so-called QOF, which you might have heard about already before. So the better education I mentioned already, and this morning in the discussion I had with the chairman of our session yesterday, of our workshop, and with Gitte, is that maybe it would be a good way if the EFIC would be even more supportive in this way. We know that there are two pain universities, pain schools already in Klagenfurt, and in Italy, Montescane, I think, is the place. This would be, from our perspective, a good sign to have more pain schools spread over Europe with the support of the EFIC. And yes, cost of pain treatment is always or often an issue for many stakeholders, especially when you have to contact payers or governments. And here it is important to raise more the awareness that it's not just the cost of medication or X-ray or so, but that pain costs much more because it involves secondary indirect costs like work loss and similar things. So, and what we consider as a very important next step from all the efforts that are done from the ZIP and the roadmap of action is to clearly identify how to monitor progress in each country so that we can easier compare in which country the project has more success than in another one. And that means the progress has to be monitored in a structured way. You need to be able to follow the process, and what is a very important point is that proper outcomes need to be defined. And here Professor Trede started this discussion already at the beginning of our workshop, and it came up constantly during the 2 or 3 hours, that here we need to define outcomes which are not only reduction in pain, but that there need also to be associated outcomes which are important for the patient. And this might be quality of life, this might be better functionality. And here, of course, it's important to have the patient more involved and to hear what is important for the patient. And I know that there are several efforts to create new PRO tools to show additional outcomes from pain studies, which should also be usable in the field for the normal treatment, so that you can really follow which attempts help patients best, and this should make them more or better comparable. And yeah, this was the facet of our workshop, and thank you for your attention.